The Senate will come to order. The senators will please take their seats. Those persons not entitled to the privileges of the floor will kindly retire to the gallery. The senators and all in attendance will stand and be led in prayer by the Reverend Monsignor William H. Carr, St. Bridget's Catholic Church, Richmond. Reverend Carr, welcome.
Let us pray. God of justice and Father of truth, who guide creation in wisdom and goodness, pour out your blessing upon the senators. Touch their hearts with tenderness for the least among us. Inspire them to seek the common good. Grant that under your providence, the Commonwealth may prosper, our citizens may be safe from harm, and harmony prevail. Senators, may God fill your hearts with peace, enable you to grow in grace, and unite you in service to all that is just and noble. Amen. Amen.
The clerk will call the roll. All those present will please vote aye. The clerk will close the roll.
You have a quorum, Mr. President. Senate Journal for Thursday, February 25th, 2016.
The senator from Russell County, Senator Chafin, moves that the reading of the journal be waived. All in favor of waiving the reading of the journal will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2. You're losing ground.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The reading of the journal is waived. The clerk will please report any communications from the House of Delegates. The senator from James City County.
Mr. President, I respectfully move we waive the reading of any communications received from the House of Delegates.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the communication be waived? All in favor of waiving the reading of the communication will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 5.
Ayes 35, noes 5. The reading of the communication is waived. The clerk will please report any communications from the governor.
We do not have any, sir.
The time has come to recognize visitors to the gallery and take up other matters for the morning hour. The senator from Richmond City, Senator Sturdivant.
Mr. President, I rise for the purpose of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, we are honored today to have with us Monsignor William Carr. He is the pastor of St. Bridget Catholic Church here in the city of Richmond and gave us our wonderful invocation this morning to get us off to a good start. Monsignor Carr also happens to be the pastor of the parish that both Senator Donovan and I attend, and so we're very happy to have him here today. And so on behalf of Senator Donovan and myself, I ask that we welcome Monsignor Carr.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Would Monsignor Carr please rise? Sir, it is indeed an honor to have you with us this morning. We appreciate you being here to get us off on the right foot, and thanks for all the wonderful work that you do in Richmond and all the lives that you have touched over the years. I'd ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Monsignor Carr the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from James City County, Senator Norment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would move that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the privileges of the floor be extended to certain distinguished persons, and I would yield to the senator from Chesterfield.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the privileges of the floor be granted to a distinguished person? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll. Ayes 39, no 0. The rules are suspended. The privileges of the floor are granted. The chair recognizes the senator from Chesterfield, Senator Chase.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, we have today Savannah Lane. She's a young lady from my hometown, Midlothian, Virginia, who is Miss Virginia 2015. Savannah Lane is a graduate of Midlothian High School and is currently enrolled in the University of Virginia in the Foreign Affairs and Middle Eastern Studies program. She's a member of both the UVA dance team and the UVA women's water polo team and is the recipient of many scholarships and awards for her academic and musical talents. She was crowned Miss Piedmont Region, then Miss Virginia 2015, and then competed in the Miss Virginia pageant and placed on the top 15. Her platform is known as POP, or the power of performance. She believes that music plays a transformative role in people's lives and lived this out firsthand as she sung at the bedside of her comatose twin sister, Haley, who last year suffered massive cardiac arrest while serving as a cadet at the United States Air Force Academy. Savannah works as a volunteer swim coach, which actually I did as well, and is even distantly related to Elvis. She represents some of the best qualities of our Commonwealth, and I'm encouraged that she's spreading a message of healing and understanding through performance. Today, she is joined by her mother and father, Bridget and Dennis Lane. Madam Clerk, if you will please read Senate Joint Resolution 156, commending Miss Virginia Savannah Lane.
Senate Joint Resolution Number 156, commending Savannah Morgan Lane. Whereas Savannah Morgan Lane of Midlothian, an undergraduate student at the University of Virginia, was crowned Miss Virginia 2015 before an energetic crowd at the Berglund Center in Roanoke. And whereas Savannah Lane is a graduate at Midlothian High School and is studying foreign affairs and Middle Eastern studies at the University of Virginia, she plans to pursue a master's degree in Arabic and a law degree. And whereas a proud and patriotic citizen of the United States, Savannah Lane hopes to ultimately serve her country as a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation and as an elected official. And whereas a generous volunteer, Savannah Lane has served as a mentor for students with autism, drama instructor for underprivileged children, and piano instruction for 2 young Iraqi refugees. She helped revitalize a program at Midlothian High School to support transfer students and students with disabilities. And whereas previously named Miss Piedmont Region, Savannah Lane achieved high marks in all categories to claim the Miss Virginia title, including for her performance of the Broadway classic, Don't Rain on My Parade. And whereas after winning Miss Virginia, Savannah Lane traveled throughout the Commonwealth to promote her platform, The Power of Performance, and how the performing arts can build confidence, compassion, and a love of country in people of all ages and backgrounds. And whereas Miss Virginia 2015, Savannah Lane advanced to the 2016 Miss America pageant in September 2015 in Atlantic City, New Jersey, where she placed in the top 15. And whereas possessing an extraordinary combination of beauty, intelligence, talent, compassion, and dedication to service, Savannah Lane has ably represented the Commonwealth during her reign as Miss Virginia. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate, the House of Delegates concurring, that the General Assembly hereby commends Savannah Morgan Lane on her selection as Miss Virginia 2015, and be it resolved further that the Clerk of the Senate prepare a copy of this resolution for presentation to Savannah Morgan Lane as an expression of the General Assembly's congratulations and admiration for her achievements.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. While Miss Virginia Savannah Lane is escorted to the dais with your family, I would ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering her the warm welcome and congratulations of the Senate. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, and
Thank you for
congratulations.
having me.
Yes, we'll have a picture here. Well, Savannah, on behalf of the Senate and the staff here in the Senate, we certainly congratulate you, and what a wonderful ambassador you are for the Commonwealth of Virginia. And it's just wonderful hearing your accomplishments, especially all the things that you've done for our children with autism and learning disabilities, and just really making the Commonwealth and our world a better place to live. And we certainly wish you the best of luck moving forward. And again, thank you for all that you do for the Commonwealth. Again, I would ask the members of the Senate to please join me in congratulating Miss Virginia Savannah Lane. folks want to say hi to you, so we're going to stand at ease and everyone come. The Senate will come to order, returning to the morning hour, the senior senator from Bath, Senator Deeds.
Mr. President, I'm honored to inform the body that in the gallery, there's a group of students from Nelson County High School, the governor's school class. I'm told they are in the class with our Paige Sinead Nardi White, who I think is back here. And I want to also advise you, Mr. President, they probed me very well this morning. They had lots of questions, and I'm sure they'd have lots of questions for you. I'd ask you to give them, they're accompanied by Agnes Schroeder. I'd ask you to give them the warm greetings of the Senate.
Thank you, Senator. Would members from Nelson County High School please rise? Welcome this morning. You made the long trip in, and hope you're having a good visit in Mr. Jefferson's capital and learning a lot. And just as a good senator from Bath said, we appreciate you being here today and visiting. I would ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering members from Nelson County High School the warm welcome of the Senate. The senator from Franklin County, Senator Stanley.
Morning, Mr. President. What a party that was.
Thank you, Senator.
I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
The senator has the floor.
Mr. President, I rise now for the purposes of 2 introductions.
Thank you, Senator.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, in the gallery today we have a young lady who has come here to visit the Virginia Senate and the General Assembly. She has a real interest in politics. She's a junior in high school, and she resides in the senator from Buckingham's district, but I had the pleasure of meeting her today. She was shadowing the senator from Rockingham's daughter, Tucker Obenshain. And so with that, Mr. President, I'd ask that you'd extend the warm welcome of the Senate to Stephanie Thompson.
Thank you, Senator. Would Ms. Stephanie Thompson please rise? Welcome to the gallery this morning, and hope you have an enjoyable stay here as well and learn all the history. We have a tremendous amount of history in Mr. Jefferson's capital, so thank you for being here and hope you have a wonderful weekend. I would ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering Ms. Stephanie Thompson the warm welcome of the Senate. From Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, on my second introduction, I have the privilege of introducing a friend of mine that I've known for many, many years, one of the great lawyers that we have in Southside Virginia. She's joined by her husband, Noel. Joan Ziegler has been someone who I've looked up to, practiced law next to, and practiced law against when she served an illustrious and long career as the Commonwealth's attorney for the city of Martinsville. She comes to visit us here at the Capitol today, and it's always great to see her. She is really, truly a great Virginian. And so, Mr. President, with that, I'd ask that you extend to Joan Ziegler and her husband, Noel, the warm welcome of the Senate.
Thank you, Senator. Would Mr. and Mrs. Joan Ziegler and your husband please rise? Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your service to the Commonwealth and to Martinsville, and we hope you have a wonderful stay here in the Capitol this afternoon. I would ask the members of the Senate to please offer the warm welcome of the Senate to Joan Ziegler and her husband. The junior senator from Henrico, Senator Donovan.
Good morning, Mr. President. I rise for the purposes of an introduction.
Senator has the floor.
I would be very grateful if you would welcome the team that has helped me keep my sanity during this first session I've served here in the General Assembly. I have the ladies that have kept me at the right place at the right time with the right information. My LA, Hannah Kovitz, Cheryl Moody Reddington, and 2 interns, Bridget Castleberg from St. Catherine's and Amanda Warwick from William and Mary. Please offer them the warm welcome of the Senate, and could somebody fix my microphone?
Thank you, Senator. Would members from Senator Donovan's staff please rise? Welcome this morning, and thank you all for all the hard work that you've done to support the senator, and she's doing a great job as a freshman senator, and we look forward to great things from her, and we can't do this alone. It's a team effort, so we appreciate all of your help, and thanks for being here this morning. I would ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering members from Senator Donovan's staff the warm welcome of the Senate. And we have a group of young legislators, or future legislators of Virginia from the University of Virginia. Would you all please rise? Thank you all so much for making the trip down to Richmond, or over to Richmond. this morning, and I enjoyed visiting with you and some great issues out there that you all are talking about as young future legislators. So we hope you have a wonderful visit and safe travels and have a great weekend this weekend. I would ask the members of the Senate to please join me in offering the future legislators of Virginia from University of Virginia the warm welcome of the Senate. Is there any other business for the morning hour? Seeing none, the clerk will please call the calendar.
Senate calendar for Friday, February 26, 2016. Unfinished business House. House Bill 289. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask that we insist on our amendments and request a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
House Bill 386. The House has rejected the Senate substitute.
The senator from Lynchburg, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that we insist on our amendments and request a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate insist on its substitute and request a committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to.
Unfinished business Senate. Senate Bill 44 has passed the House with amendments.
The senator from Grayson, Senator Carrico.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask the body, this is dealing with the coal tax credit, would ask the body that we accept the Senate amendments. The amendments are friendly amendments. It is, as you will see, decreasing the cap from 7.5 to 7.3, going back looking at the years prior to. I don't think that we would exceed that amount on the caps, and I would ask the body to accept the House amendments to Senate Bill 44.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendments? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 34, noes 5.
Ayes 34, noes 5. The Senate concurs with the House amendments.
Senate Bill 99 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Chesapeake, Senator Cosgrove.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask that we concur with the House amendment, and speaking to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is a fairly minor change made to this bill that would allow the spouses of members of our military who died of wounds in action to have the real estate property tax exemption. We worked with both the Department of Defense and the council here in Virginia, and we came to the right conclusion on both bills, so I'd ask we pass the bill.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 115 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we adopt the House position and speak to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this was the tax reform credit for political contributions. Went over to the House, and they changed it to reflect the fact that the tax year actually begins January 1 and not July 1, which is a very good point. So basically, this will allow this to take effect January 1, so we can give that pay increase to teachers that they so desperately deserve. I thank the body.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 36, noes 3.
Ayes 36, noes 3. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 160 has passed the House with a substitute.
Senator from Northern Fairfax County, Senator Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we concur with the House substitute. And speaking to it, this has been the bill from hell for the last 5 years. We thought we had finally settled it, and then Legislative Services discovered it was drawn to a non-existent part of the code. So in order to not deal with it again next year, I would ask that you vote for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 30, noes 10.
Ayes 30, noes 10. The substitute is agreed to.
Senate Bill 366 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Russell County, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the Senate concur with the House substitute. Speaking to the bill,
Senator has the floor.
This bill was the bill that granted an exemption for property taxes for disabled veterans and surviving spouses of those members of the armed services who lost their life in action and who live in a manufactured home. The House substitute is technical, and it just clarifies and makes clear that in some cases condominiums or townhomes could qualify.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House substitute? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House substitute.
Senate Bill 445 has passed the House with amendment.
Senator from Hanover, Senator McDougal.
Mr. President, using my seatmate's mic because of some nefarious actions by those, I would move that the Senate concur with the House amendment, but recommend that we not agree to that. Mr. President, the House put a different date than we selected. We've put a different date on the House bill, so that's coming through, and I think we're going to need to get to conference to try to find a mutually agreeable time to resolve this bill.
Thank you, Senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 2, noes 38.
Ayes 2, noes 38. The amendment is not agreed to.
Senate Bill 690 has passed the House with amendments.
Senator from Fairfax City, Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we concur with the House amendment and speak to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is the bill that allowed tax documents and tax notices to be served by email with the consent of the taxpayer. The House added the word "or official" after locality, so I don't think that's sufficient reason to send it to conference, so I move that we adopt the amendment.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur with the House amendment? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The Senate concurs with the House amendment.
Mr. President.
The senator from Russell County.
Having voted on the prevailing side for which we decided, Senate Bill 445, I ask that it be reconsidered.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which the Senate rejected the House amendment be reconsidered on Senate Bill 445? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The question is, with the recommendation that it be rejected, shall the amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The amendment is rejected.
Senate Bill 731 has passed the House with a substitute.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I would move that we concur with the House amendment, but I would urge the members to reject that motion. This is our capital bond bill, and there are numerous differences with the House substitute and the position of the Senate. So I would ask that the members reject the House substitute.
Thank you, Senator. With the recommendation that it be rejected, the question is, shall the House substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 0, noes 40.
Ayes 0, noes 40. The substitute is rejected.
Senate Bill 336. The House has insisted on its amendments and request a committee of conference.
The senator from Newport News, Senator Miller.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we agree to a committee of conference.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate accede to the committee of conference? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, nays 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The Senate accedes to the committee of conference.
Conferees on the part of the Senate on Senate Bill 336 is named by the Chairman of Education and Health, Senator Newman, or Senators Carrico, Donovan, and Miller. Turning to page 6 of the calendar, uncontested calendar, House bills on third reading.
Senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Mr. President, I'd move that all the House bills on the uncontested calendar on the third reading, including all House bills on pages 6 through 15, including House Bill 684 through House Bill 1344, be placed on their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments. Any senator who desires to remove a House bill from the block, please do so after the clerk has read the number of that bill.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House bills on the uncontested calendar, third reading, pages 6 through 15, House Bill 684 through House Bill 1344, be placed upon their final passage in the block after the adoption of any amendments thereto, with the understanding that any senator desiring a bill removed from the block will do so after the clerk has read the number of the bill. All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion is agreed to. The bills are before us in the block. The clerk will please read the number of the bills.
House Bill 684, reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology. House Bill 14, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 15, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 24, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 63, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 65, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 106, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 183, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 233, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 268, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 369, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 412, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Mr. President, could that come out of the block?
I'm sorry, which bill, Senator?
House Bill 412.
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, House Bill 412 will come out of the block.
House Bill 421, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 470, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 526, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 587, reported for the Committee on Local Government.
Mr. President,
The senator from Alexander, Senator Eben.
could House Bill 587 be removed from the block and go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 587 will come out of the block and by for the day.
House Bill 590, reported from the Committee on Finance. House Bill 643, reported from the Committee on Finance with amendments.
Mr. President,
The senator from Augusta.
I move the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 649, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 832, reported for the Committee on Privileges and Elections with amendments.
The senator from Fauquier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the committee amendments be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are agreed to.
House Bill 945, reported from the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1068, reported for the Committee on Finance with amendments.
Mr. President.
The senator from Prince William.
Disregard, I guess, adopt the amendments first, and then I'll ask it be pulled from the block.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Augusta.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the committee amendments be agreed to.
Your question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are agreed to. The senator from Prince William.
Mr. President, can House Bill 1068 be pulled from the block?
Thank you, Senator. Without objection, House Bill 1068 will come out of the block.
House Bill 1182, reported for the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1214, reported for the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1223, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections. House Bill 1300. Sorry, there's a floor amendment on 1223.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move we waive the reading of the floor amendment.
Senator, the question is, shall the reading of the floor amendment be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendment is waived. The senator from Fauquier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the floor amendment be agreed to.
You want to speak to that, Senator?
Yes, Mr. President. This was a technical, well, it's actually not technical, and the Legislative Services attempted to make the change, but they couldn't on their own, so it needs to be done on the floor, and they need to strike the term office, and it needs to say officer of election and not office of election. And so with that, I move the floor amendment be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the floor amendment be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendment is agreed to.
House Bill 1300, reported for the Committee on Local Government. House Bill 1344, reported for the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
The senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. The question is, shall the House bills pass in block? That is, all bills except for House Bill 412, 587, and 1068. All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The bills in the block pass. Returning to page 9 of the calendar, House Bill 412. The senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that House Bill 412 pass. And speaking to that motion, sir.
The senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. House Bill 412 is a simple bill that adds to the code of 15.2 926.3 regarding local regulations. This bill basically states that no locality may regulate the use of privately owned unmanned aircraft systems, commonly known as drones, within the locality's boundaries. And with that explanation now, Mr. President, I renew my motion that House Bill 412 pass.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Mr. President, I pulled that bill out of the block because I think it's something that we should need to think about a little bit. I don't have a problem when we reach that point where we have some sort of a comprehensive rule that covers the state, but I don't think we're there yet. And I think in the meantime, I'm hesitant to take away from localities the authority to, to regulate these things, because I was at Best Buy and I was stunned to look, and here is a drone that is ultra sophisticated with photography and everything for about $1,200. I thought, wow, this stuff has really come a long ways. And I know that in the town of Leesburg, there's very considerable concern about this. And the problem is that until we come up with some sort of a comprehensive scheme for how we do these, you've got the ability for people to to use peeping Tom drones that, you know, hover outside somebody's bathroom window. You got all kinds of possibilities, and I just think that until we have some sort of a statewide comprehensive thing, I think we need to give the localities the ability to regulate. Thank you.
Senator, the senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, will the senator from Franklin yield for a question?
Would the senator from Franklin yield for a question?
Yes, Mr. President, I will hover right here.
He yields, Senator.
Mr. President, does any locality now have any ordinance dealing with drones?
Senator from Franklin.
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman by saying that I do not know one way or the other whether localities have started to try or attempt to regulate the use of unmanned aircraft, personal aircraft. But I can tell you this, Mr. President, I think the senator from Leesburg, from Loudoun County, is right. I think we need to have a uniform policy. What this bill attempts to do, Mr. President, is to prevent a non-uniform policy, which sometimes occurs when localities pass regulations that are not substantially similar to each other. So a drone can go 50 feet in the air in Loudoun County. It can only go 25 feet in the air in the town of Leesburg. I think it is necessary for us to have a comprehensive policy. I'm sure next year we'll be debating this, and it will be a hot debate. But right now, let's not have these patchwork regulations by localities regulating unmanned aircraft until we, as a General Assembly, make a stand, take a stand, and figure out. And I'm sorry, Mr. President, I think I'm droning on, so I'll stop there.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Alexandria, Senator Evans.
Speaking briefly for the bill, sir.
Senator has the floor.
Yes, you know, this is a burgeoning industry that we're trying to encourage in Virginia, and I know that the patron had also sponsored an initiative for Fly Wisely to benefit Southwest Virginia with this industry, and it's not just Southwest, but I just want to draw to the body's attention on line 15, this act expires on July 1st, 2019, so this is just a stopgap until we consider further regulation, and there are some federal regulations in place, I understand.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Accomack County, Senator Lewis.
Mr. President, let me to shed some light, speaking to the bill, to shed some light on what the delegate's trying to accomplish with House Bill 412, and along the lines of what my colleague just said. This is a burgeoning industry in the Commonwealth. We are one of 5 designated FAA test sites for drone technology at Wallops Island, also out in Wise County. So it's important that we not have a chilling effect on this new technology and appear to be inhospitable to it as we seek to lure folks here to test these technologies out and figure out how we're going to integrate drone technology into our civilian airspace. That's what these test facilities are all about, and that's what these experiments are going to be. So if we have local ordinances in some of these localities that appear to be inhospitable or appear to prohibit those activities, we are going to have a real chilling effect on what's going to be a big economic driver for a number of areas in our Commonwealth. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
And, Mr. President, I'll just very briefly address one point that's been made. We have experienced situations like this before where we have had local regulation, and at a certain point, we've reached a point where we were prepared to implement statewide regulation, which then preempts all of the local regulation. This happened with the network of rules that we had restricting gun possession, firearms use, and so forth. And back in 2003, we then did a comprehensive rule. I don't think the local ordinances will present any difficulty at all once the time comes where we're ready to go forward with something that is more comprehensive. And I think we need some rules before we limit the ability of localities to implement their own. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Eastern Fairfax County, Senator Surville.
Speaking to the bill briefly.
Has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, I put in a bill that was exactly opposite of this last year. It obviously got killed. It would have given localities the authority to do it, and I learned all about this. I also sent the Attorney General an opinion request, and in July of last year, he wrote an opinion which described how much authority that we actually have to regulate drones, and it's not a lot, mainly because the federal government has preempted us in most of the things we could do. However, the Attorney General did write that there are some limited aspects, including privacy, that we're allowed to legislate in, but it's a very, very, very narrow space. With regard to the concerns raised about peeping and all these other things, most of our existing criminal laws are adequate to deal with drones when those situations arise. If somebody uses a drone to peep in somebody's window, they can be prosecuted for that right now. So the space is just so narrow and limited with what's going on in Southwest, what's going on in the Eastern Shore. We have to be very careful about what we do in this because there are a lot of opportunities coming, and we need to have a statewide solution. Doing this on a patchwork basis isn't going to work given the nature of this technology, and I learned that last year trying to get a bill through that did the exact opposite thing, and I think putting a moratorium in place where local governments can't act is exactly what we need to do until we figure this out. So I would urge the body to support the bill.
Thank you, Senator. The Senator from Russell County, Senator Chafin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to speak in favor of the bill.
Senator has the floor.
We need a statewide solution to this issue, and as the senator from Accomack said, I represent in my district a budding initiative for this industry, and we also have a STEM research facility that is growing in Wise County to study the drone industry and to provide likely applications to industry. So we have to be really careful what we do when we have an industry like the drone industry that we really can't see what it's going to become. We really can't see the future of this industry. For example, if we had allowed regulation of the World Wide Web or of the internet when it was first beginning, imagine the train wreck that we might have created. Imagine what could have happened there and how that industry grew into something bigger than anybody ever imagined that it would actually be. So here we have the same potential for this drone industry. It's just hard for us to see these things. They're going to get smaller. They're going to get faster. They're going to be able to do things that right now we can't really imagine. So I hope that you'll favor this legislation.
Thank you, Senator. The senior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator Wagner.
Mr. President, we've been droning on a while. I move the pending question.
The pending question has been called. All in favor of moving the pending question will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
6.
Ayes 33, no 6. The pending question is called. The question is, shall House Bill 412 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 2.
Ayes 38, noes 2. The bill passes. Moving forward in the calendar to page 13. House Bill 1068. The senator from James City County, Senator Norment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would respectfully move that House Bill 1068 pass, and speaking to that motion, sir.
Sir has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, this is the grant bill for the Newport News shipbuilding to assist them and incentivize them on the construction of a foundry there. It provides for a grant that has certain metrics attached to it. The metrics are that they're going to be investing up to $750 million in their own capital, and also they must employ 1,000 shipbuilders in order to qualify for these series of grants from the state. What this is dealing with is that the Navy has committed to build 12 large ships between 2021 and 2039. The shipyard in Virginia has already been in discussion with Electric Boat, and there's going to be a collaborative effort in that regard. So I will leave it at that unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Speaking in favor of this bill, and to highlight just a few points, this is important. It has performance measures, has important things to Virginia's economy, but I wanted to highlight to the body today that we have the performance measures in place as responsible stewards of our tax dollars. and in the form of grant in terms of both jobs, performance, and in relation to wages as well. These are important provisions to protect ourselves. We are also in this body considering legislation that would take that ability from our local governments away and take it away for economic development purposes. It's an important distinction. I'm in support of this bill because it does provide economic incentives and powers. Please keep in this mind as you vote for this bill, you will have legislation coming up that strips this power from local governments. So vote for this one. You need to vote for the bills that strip away local power to do the same thing in terms of grants. Thank you, and I speak in favor of the bill.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1068 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 1.
Ayes 39, noes 1. The bill passes.
Regular calendar, House bills on third reading. House Bill 944, a bill to address local ordinances concerning the installation or use of landscape cover materials until regulations have been approved as part of the statewide fire prevention code. Reported from the Committee on General Laws and Technology.
The senator from Rockingham, Senator Obenshain.
Mr. President, can this go by for the day?
Without objection, House Bill 944 will go by for the day.
House Bill 9, a bill relating to voter registration, form of the application, and required information. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections with amendments.
The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the committee amendments.
The question is, shall the committee amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The committee amendments are agreed to. The senator from Fauquier.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage of the bill and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. HB 9 was a bill brought by Delegate Cole that was attempting to codify in the code specific information that would be included on the voter registration application. And the intent of the legislation was to take some of the discretion out of the process where information was left off. Some registrars were treating it one way and other registrars were treating it another way. And so we had quite a bit of debate in committee, but that was the underlying intention. What the amendments did were to incorporate what the senator from Alexandria had done in his SB 420 regarding what information is required when an applicant has been previously adjudicated, incapacitated, and disqualified to vote or previously convicted of a felony. And specifically not requesting so much information there. So that's what the bill does, and with that, I move the passage of the bill.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 9 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 22, noes 18.
Ayes 22, noes 18. The bill passes.
Mr. President.
The senator from Spotsylvania.
Having voted on the prevailing side of which we passed HB 1068 on page 13, I ask that we reconsider that vote. I'm sorry, page 13.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 1068 passed be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record the votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I respectfully move that the bill pass, and this, in fact, is the Newport News Shipbuilding Incentive Grant Program, whereby there are subcontractors all across the Commonwealth of Virginia, including in the Star City or Big Lick, that provide materials and labor to the shipyard.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1068 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 158, a bill relating to grass cutting in certain counties, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
The senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move House Bill 158 that it pass enthusiastically, and speaking to that motion, sir.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, you have seen these bills before, perhaps. They're grass cutting bills. This one is a specific grass cutting bill that pertains to agricultural land that can be used for residential purposes in Caroline County. It allows and gives the authority to the locality to cut the growth of grass in Caroline County that is zoned for agricultural use on those portions of such land that are assessed by the county for residential purposes. That's all I can tell you. Thank you. I renew my motion.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 158 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 20, noes 18.
Ayes 20, noes 18. The bill passes.
House Bill.
I'm sorry, it fails. It needed 27 votes, Senator, so House Bill 158 does not pass. You can take your seat now, Senator.
Mr. President, having voted on the prevailing side in which HB 158 failed to pass, I now move to reconsider that vote.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the vote by which House Bill 158 did not pass be reconsidered? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 38, noes 0.
Ayes 38, noes 0. The motion is agreed to. The senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that House Bill 158 go by for the day.
Without objection, House Bill 158 will go by for the day.
House Bill 647, a bill relating to tree conservation ordinance notice, reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll see if I can try this again. I move that House Bill 647 pass, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, House Bill 647 proposes, when it comes to conservation of trees, that a locality can post signs on the private property where there's a proposal for redevelopment. So what this bill does is basically allows that locality to post the signs that are proposed to be redeveloped with single-family homes that notify the public that an infill lot grading plan is pending for review before the locality. The locality cannot require the homeowner or the person that owns the property to be responsible for the posting of the sign, and the failure to post the property sign on the property shall not be grounds for denial of any grading plan that is pending before the locality. And that is the bill, Mr. President. So therefore, I renew my motion that HB 647 pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 647 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 24, noes 16.
Ayes 24, noes 16. The bill passes.
House Bill 919, a bill relating to delinquent water and sewer charges, reported from the Committee on Local Government, and there are two floor amendments.
The senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the reading of the floor amendments be waived.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the reading of the floor amendments be waived? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The reading of the floor amendments are waived. The senator from Arlington.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the amendments be agreed to, and speaking to the motion.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you. What my amendments do, a couple of things. It says that the water provider shall notify a delinquent customer within 30 days, so that way the customer knows they've been delinquent. And then the second thing it does is it allows the water provider to work with the customer. However, if 60 days have passed and the customer has not paid the bill, the provider may terminate service. If a decision is made to terminate the service, a notice, of 10 working days must be provided before the service is terminated. This was a bill that we heard in local government. There were several stakeholder groups on either side of the issue. Some water authorities and jurisdictions stepped forward and said, we really do need this framework. There are issues with customers who are delinquent. And then there were some folks on the other side that stepped forward and said, we're worried that we need a bit more of a process in the bill, and this amendment was worked out among all the stakeholders, and I would ask that the amendment be agreed to. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, should the floor amendments be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The floor amendments are agreed to. The senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move that House Bill 919 pass, and speaking to that motion.
Senator has the floor.
Basically, Mr. President, the senator who offered the amendments has explained the bill pretty well. It's a notice bill. It provides when and the time frame in which water that is supplied to a tenant or to a landowner may be ceased when the delinquency of those payments occurs. What the amendment now does is make sure that the locality or the utility or the municipality provide written notice. Ultimately, what you're trying to do here is make sure that someone doesn't get so far behind and that the bill accumulates to an amount that they cannot overcome or correct. Mr. President, I would urge the passage of this bill. The Catholic Foundation and also the Poverty Law Center have worked on this. The agreement that they reached is agreed to by the patron, and quite frankly, it's a bill that takes care of people when these issues occur. So for those reasons, I renew my motion that HB 919 pass.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 919 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. The senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 29, noes 10.
Ayes 29, noes 10. The bill passes.
House Bill 1030, a bill relating to officers of election required training, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage of the bill and speaking to that motion.
Who has the floor?
Thank you, Mr. President. This bill is identical to Senate Bill 574 that passed almost unanimously 39-1 out of this body. It was the bill sponsored by the senior senator from Henrico. It establishes a framework for the training of officers of elections at least once in their term. It's a good bill, and I move that the bill pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1030 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 40, noes 0.
Ayes 40, noes 0. The bill passes.
House Bill 1147, a bill relating to transient occupancy tax, Arlington, reported from the Committee on Finance with a substitute.
Senator from Augusta, Senator Hanger.
Mr. President, I move the committee substitute be agreed to.
The question is, shall the committee substitute be agreed to? All in favor of the motion will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The substitute is agreed to. The senator from Augusta.
Mr. President, I move the bill pass. I'd like to speak to that.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. This bill is now, with the adoption of the committee substitute, is now identical to the bill previously passed, patroned by the senator from Northern Fairfax. It reinstates 0.25% of additional transient occupancy tax. So I would move that it pass and alert the members that it is a transient occupancy tax. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1147 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 30, noes 10.
Ayes 30, noes 10. The bill passes.
House Bill 1188, a bill relating to technical adjustments of certain Senate district boundaries, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is, again, one of those post-redistricting technical cleanup bills, and it affected only 2 census blocks, and I ask that the bill pass. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. the senior senator from Henrico, Senator McEachin.
Mr. President, just to remind the body, this is a source of an ongoing debate. There are some of us in this body who believe that we can only do redistricting in a year ending in 1. I'd ask that we defeat the bill.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1188 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 1371, a bill relating to prohibition on certain local government mandates upon employers. Reported from the Committee on Local Government.
Senator from Franklin, Senator Stanley.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that House Bill 1371 pass. And speaking to that motion, sir.
Has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. Basically, what House Bill 1371 does is it amends the Virginia Code 15.2-1408.1, which makes certain prohibitions on the localities regarding their mandates that they can make upon employers that reside within that locality. Specifically, the bill states that the locality shall not enact any ordinance, resolution, or otherwise any policy that requires an employer within that locality to provide an employee with a wage or employment benefit that exceeds the requirements of state or federal law. And it makes a final statement, Mr. President, that says any such local policy shall be unenforceable. And for those reasons, Mr. President, I renew that my motion that HB 1371 pass.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Western Fairfax County, Senator Morrison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rise to speak in opposition to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. We very often in my career have moved more towards providing private contractors to perform government and public service. And this has largely been a good thing, and there's a lot of reasons to do that. And some of them being that you don't know how long this particular program is going to last. You don't want to create a situation where you're creating folks who are vested in retirement systems that may not be a good practice fiscally for your locality. So you want to contract out for public services. But one of the things that's important is you need to ensure that there's quality. Employees' compensation can be a big part of that, making sure that these are adequately paid folks. You may want to peg them to similar positions in regular government service to ensure some equity and to make sure that the public's interests are served. So I don't think we ought to be in the business of telling localities how they ought to operate with regards to giving certain reasonable mandates to private employers, especially when they're providing public service kinds of functions. And so I would urge the body to vote against the bill.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Briefly, sir, would the gentleman from Franklin yield for a question?
Would the senator from Franklin County yield for a question?
For my friend, the gentleman from Alexandria, I will yield. Yes, sir.
Yield, Senator.
Thank you, sir. I would ask, can't the localities already pay wages to their own employees, to their own direct employees, what they want, the dollar amount that they choose to?
Senator from Franklin.
Mr. President, I would answer the gentleman that the localities are empowered with the ability to pay and offer wages to their salaried or part-time employees who work for that locality any amount that they so choose.
Speaking briefly against the bill, sir.
The senator has the floor.
I would just note, as the gentleman from Franklin said, localities can pay what they want to their own employees. And those of you who support privatization, I would say that this is a reasonable, that the bill is an unfair limit on privatization. If government wants to contract with an outside contractor, they should be able to specify the terms of the bid. And further, if you support privatization in my own city of Alexandria, they could just easily end these contracts and do the work directly so that the employees can be paid enough so that they're not on food stamps, et cetera. So I hope you'll defeat the bill.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Prince William County, Senator McPike.
Mr. President, I rise to speak against the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Having highlighted earlier in this discussion House Bill 1068, in terms of the utilization of grants, in terms of vehicles, the language of this bill would in fact prohibit local governments from utilizing grants in economic development initiatives. And I remind the body that almost every one of your districts has an enterprise zone, an IT, information technology zone, multiple zones, where we have local governments participating and actually engaging what they know best, which is where they want to focus their dollars to make sure that they have economic opportunities, that the kids and families they raise there have an opportunity to stay there through the development of jobs. This is handcuffing local government's ability to participate. Currently, we have the Commonwealth Opportunity Fund, Virginia Incentive Fund, requiring local matches. Conceivably, many other policies just passed by the body just a few minutes ago also could require grants. This bill specifically says localities shall not enact by ordinance, resolution, or otherwise any policy, which means you are limiting your local governments that you represent from engaging in the important economic development factors that they need and they understand best, and recommended this body reject this measure.
Thank you, Senator. The Senator from Arlington, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would ask if my friend, the senator from Franklin County, would rise for a question.
Would the senator from Franklin County yield for a question?
Of course I yield.
He yields, Senator.
I will ask the senator, do we have any complaints from employers or contractors within our jurisdictions about some action a local government may have taken regarding a salary or wage requirement?
Senator from Franklin.
Mr. President, I would answer the gentlelady by saying and admitting quite candidly that I am not the patron, so I do not know what motivated the patron to bring this bill. But before we take this to the extreme, Mr. President, I would answer the gentlelady also by saying that all this bill does is say that a locality cannot tell J.C. Penney's how much to pay their people in excess of what the federal or state minimum requirements are. That's all the bill is. Doesn't ruin grants, doesn't do anything. And I don't know why J.C. Penney's came to mind, but I'm just using that by way of an example. So that's all this bill does. It's a very simple bill. Thank you, Mr. President.
I have a further question.
Would you yield for another question, Senator?
Sure.
He yields, Senator.
I believe that local governments would already be prohibited from asking any employer in their communities to pay a certain wage, at least in the state of Virginia. The Dillon Rule, doesn't that already exist?
Senator from Franklin.
Mr. President, I would answer the gentlelady by saying, of course, we do have the Dillon Rule, but I don't believe that without this legislation that is necessarily so her premise. This is about letting the free market, letting private enterprise make those decisions for themselves without the interference of local government or state government. And so that's what this bill addresses at the local level. And we've seen where we have a minimum wage, but companies like Walmart and other companies in the area are raising the wage of their worker. Let them be the one that dictates how much the employer pays the employee, not the government. And that's, I believe, the purpose of this bill, Mr. President.
Mr. President, speaking to the motion, I guess hearing the conversation on the floor of the Senate, it's just very clear to me that there is no problem here to be solved. Certainly people are trying to make efforts to make statements about how opposed they are to any requirements regarding a minimum wage. This, my friends, is something local governments, if they choose to contract out, and we've had another bill that dealt with specifically contracting out, local governments, in my view, are held accountable. Their boards of supervisors are elected by individuals who elect us. They stand for election. They have to defend their votes. I don't see why this is possibly needed. And we had a conversation just yesterday on the ability of local governments to place whatever requirements they might deem necessary in their contracts so they can ensure high quality work, so they can ensure there's not turnover, so they can ensure that they use their taxpayer dollars wisely. Mr. President, I urge the ladies and gentlemen of the Senate to vote against this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The senator from Roanoke City, Senator Edwards.
Mr. President, speaking to the bill.
Senator has the floor.
Mr. President, the current federal minimum wage hadn't been raised since, I think, 07 or 08. 08, I believe it is. is $7.25 an hour. And if you're working full-time, that's about $15,000 a year. Adjusted for inflation, this is about $7,000 a year less than the minimum wage was in about 1968. That's right. The minimum wage is about $7,000 less, adjusted for inflation, than it was back a long time ago, almost 50 years ago. Mr. President, what this bill really does is put local businesses at a disadvantage when they're applying for government contracts or other business in their locality as compared to out-of-state businesses or others that have a lower minimum wage. If, for example, in Arlington or Fairfax, which is a more expensive place to live than, say, Southwest Virginia, and even Roanoke, Mr. President, what this means is the local businesses just are at a disadvantage when it comes to bidding on government contracts, as opposed to those with a much lower wage, and probably often from out of state. So what we're doing is putting into place basically a race to the bottom. We're putting in place a system that's going to be disadvantaged to not only American Virginia workers, but also to the Virginia economy. And so for that reason, I would hope, Mr. President, that we would reject this bill.
Thank you, Senator. The junior senator from Virginia Beach, Senator DeSteffe.
Mr. President, call the pending question.
Senator, you're the last person to rise, so I'll call the bill if you'd like, if you want to withdraw your motion.
Mr. President, with that, I'll withdraw my motion, or as you were, sir.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1371 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? Do any senators desire to change their votes? The clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 21, noes 19.
Ayes 21, noes 19. The bill passes.
House Bill 1387, a bill relating to large pre-election contributions, deadline for disclosure, reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move passage of the bill. This is equally controversial, I assure you. Mr. President, what this bill does is it moves the filing deadline for large pre-election contribution filings from 5 p.m. to 11:59 p.m. And the rationale from the bill, I knew you'd be shocked. The rationale for the bill is that there are many people who work for campaigns who have day jobs and do other things, and that 5 o'clock deadline is difficult. And so Delegate Lingenfelter's explanation was that he thought it was fair and would give people a little bit of extra breathing room if they had until 11:59 p.m. And the committee seemed to think that was reasonable. So with that, I would move passage of the bill.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall House Bill 1387 pass? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, nor are the senators ready to vote. Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 35, noes 5.
Ayes 35, noes 5. The bill passes.
Uncontested calendar, House bills on second reading.
The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd move all the House bills on the second reading on the uncontested and regular calendar, including all House bills on pages 19 through 30, including House Bill 66 through House Bill 1245, that the rules of the Senate be suspended and that the second constitutional reading of the titles be dispensed with.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the rules be suspended and the second reading of the titles of House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars, pages 19 through 43, House Bill 66 through House Bill 1245, be dispensed with? All in favor of the motion will record their votes aye. Those opposed, no. Are the senators ready to vote? Have all the senators voted? If any senators desire to change their votes, the clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 39, noes 0.
Ayes 39, noes 0. The reading of the titles is dispensed with. The senator from James City County.
Mr. President, I now move that all the bills be passed by for the day, sir.
Question is, shall the House bills on the uncontested and regular calendars now on third reading go by for the day? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bills will go by for the day.
Page 43, regular calendar, House Joint Resolution on third reading. House Joint Resolution 210, election of a Supreme Court of Virginia Justice, reported from the Committee for Courts of Justice.
Senator from Rockingham.
Mr. President, can that go by for the day?
Without objection, H.R. 210 will go by for the day.
Uncontested calendar, Senate Joint Resolutions on second reading. Senate Joint Resolution 157, confirming appointments by the governor of certain persons communicated January 26, 2016. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier County, Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Question is, shall the resolution be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
Senate Joint Resolution 158, confirming appointments by the governor of certain persons communicated February 9, 2016. Reported from the Committee on Privileges and Elections.
The senator from Fauquier County.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the bill be engrossed and advanced to its third reading.
The question is, shall the resolution be engrossed and advanced to its third reading? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The resolution is engrossed and advanced to its third reading. The senator from James City County, Senator Norman.
Inquiry of the clerk, Mr. President, does that complete Friday's calendar?
Yes, sir.
The senator from Alexandria, Senator Eben.
Could we return to the morning hour for a point of personal privilege and a motion?
The senator has the floor.
Thank you. I didn't want to do this yesterday because the hour was late, but as Black History Month draws to a close, I wanted to reflect on the rich and sometimes bleak Black history in my city of Alexandria. We have an important history of both bad and good, progressing from slave auctions in Market Square in front of our city hall 150 years ago to the election of our first black mayor less than 20 years ago. And I'd like to bring to the attention of the body the new PBS series titled Mercy Street, which airs on Sundays at 10 p.m. Though it's filmed in Petersburg and Richmond, Mercy Street is set in 19th century Alexandria, depicting the struggles of numerous Alexandrians as the Civil War changes their way of life. Audrey Davis, the director of Alexandria's Black History Museum, is a consultant to the show and provides history of the time period to make it as accurate as possible. Thanks to her work and many others, passionate historians humanize history as the stories portrayed in the series are grounded in the meaningful accomplishments of real 19th century Virginians. And it exposes the uncomfortable truth that regardless of their knowledge and life-saving capabilities, prior to the Emancipation Proclamation, African-American doctors were not permitted to practice medicine. Even 100 years after, hospital discrimination was still widespread throughout the country and in many jurisdictions legally sanctioned. Black professionals were often barred from medical staffs and as patients from beds and services, and even the American Medical Association had discriminatory policies excluding or discouraging blacks from participating in their organization until the 1960s. On Mercy Street, one of the doctors who practiced is epitomized in the character of Sam Diggs, a free black man who grew up in Philadelphia in a Philadelphia doctor's household and who showed immense courage in risking his life to save another by performing an emergency surgery against the law and in secrecy. The story of Mr. Diggs is inspired by real-life African-American doctors who served during the Civil War. A particularly important one is Martin Delany, born in 1812 in what was then the Virginia city of Charlestown to a free mother and an enslaved father. As Delany and his siblings began to read and write, their mother moved them to Pennsylvania as Virginia law banned African Americans from obtaining any education. Delany's move to Pennsylvania allowed him to expand educational opportunities. He became one of the first 3 African Americans to be accepted to Harvard Medical School. Protests by white students, however, ended Delany's Harvard medical career after just 1 term. Unfazed, Delany studied medicine under the tutelage of abolitionist doctors like Dr. Andrew McDowell, Dr. Julius Lemoyne, and Dr. Joseph Gazem. He would establish his own practice based on the knowledge acquired from these doctors. Martin Delany went on to serve bravely in the Union Army. He was commissioned as a major in the 104th Regiment of the United States Colored Troops. and Delaney became the first African-American field officer in the Civil War. I ask that during this month we recognize Major Martin Delaney and countless others whose stories are lost to history for following their passions and contributing greatly to our nation. And Mr. President, I move that when we adjourn today, we do so in the memory and honor of Major Martin Delaney, a trailblazer and hero for our nation.
Thank you, Senator. Is there any other business to come before the Senate? The clerk will please report any announcements on the desk.
Monday, February 29th, the Committee for Courts of Justice will meet at 8 a.m., Senate Room B. The Republican Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 2. The Democratic Caucus will meet at 11:30 a.m. in Senate Room 1. Weekend weather report, mostly sunny skies throughout the Commonwealth on Friday and Saturday. Temperatures in the mid-40s throughout the day with overnight lows in the mid-20s. Sunday will be warmer with temperatures rising to the mid-60s. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The Senator from Lynchburg, Senator Newman.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate now adjourn until 12 noon tomorrow, and when we do so in memory of Major Martin Delaney.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate stand adjourned until 12 o'clock noon on Monday, and that when we do so, we do it in memory of Major Martin Delaney? All in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The Senate stands adjourned until 12 o'clock noon Monday.